Hey, what's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another stream. This is episode 20. We've done this 20 weekends in a row. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty nuts. I'm going to try something a little different today. Well, I guess it won't be entirely different for you guys. But I figure, I'll spend, just 5 minutes letting everyone kind of trickle in. And, we'll kick it off a little slower than as opposed to just jumping right in. And then I'll actually cut out this intro in the actual video once I post it. Just so it's a little bit more personal for you guys, but also if you're coming back later to watch the video, we just get right into it and it's just a straight tutorial. But yeah, how's everybody doing? Is a really, really rough, intense week. I mean, it's been a crazy year actually. So I just hope you guys are safe. Hope you guys are feeling okay. I know it's definitely some tough times and some very difficult things going on this week. So yeah, hopefully you guys are doing okay. So yeah, how you guys doing this week? Are you guys excited to learn? Today we're talking about advanced shaders in Cinema 4D, and Octane will be my renderer of choice. But it honestly doesn't matter what renderer you're using or what program you're using. This is basically, I'm going to talk to you guys about how to make these textures. This is a rusted cast iron texture. If you guys have a cast iron pan or like a cast iron teapot, this is actually based off of my cast iron teapot. And it gets these like rusted, orange, rusty little spots all around it. And this is all made from just noise maps, If you guys have ever used Substance Designer, it's the same thing. It's just, creating realistic textures from noise maps, and that's a physically based texture, a PBR image here, or not image, but yeah, it's basically, it's not using any like JPEGs or any pictures. That's all just clean noise maps. So it's fully editable, fully adjustable. And same for this guy. This guy here is based off of my car after it rained and it was dirty. So I wanted to make some cool dirty rain texture and figure that one out. This one is actually using one image. That's a Cornelius Dombrick image for the rain because that's a very specific kind of texture there. So that's the only thing. And it's a free image. We can all get that. And yeah, the depth of field isn't really helping me on this texture here, but I think it adds a little bit of cinematic style to it. So we'll just be breaking down these two textures here. We'll let people trickle in, see how people are doing. How you been with Corridor lately? Yeah, things are fun. I'm working on this world's biggest domino video right now. We pretty much finished all of filming yesterday, and it was a rough 2 days of filming. It was just running around all day, running with a giant domino, like a domino the size of my body, with Ren and with Nico. So the next 2 weeks will be Crunchtown, USA on the VFX for that. We got some tricky shots that we got to work on, so yeah, I'm sure there'll be a cool BTS on that. Nick, who runs the Corridor Crew channel, he'll probably feature a lot of the VFX techniques and everything, as we go down that. And also, I think it's not 100% official because it hasn't happened yet, but I did talk with Chris Schmidt from Rocket Lasso, and I think he's going to be down to help us out with these VFX. He's the master of simulation, and I was talking with him on the phone, and he said that he would love to help out, and we want to do like a little BTS segment on him. So I think that's going to be fun for you guys. PBR, Mosaic. PBR can be complicated, but that's why it's called advanced PBR textures. We're going to build this stuff from scratch. It's going to be really fun, and, hopefully I can do it perfectly. But you guys know me. I get my multiply, my adds, and my subtract nodes mixed up a little bit sometimes. So, we'll do our best. But yeah, we'll get there. Any other questions, while people trickle in here? How has getting back to the studio been? Honestly, guys, I love working from home so much. So much. It's the best. I'm happier working from home. I have more time working from home. I'm more focused working from home. So, going back to the studio is definitely a change for me. It's nice to see people, certainly. But when I really want to focus and get work done and crunch, like, it's easiest for me to work in a quiet atmosphere, which at home is exactly that. So, yeah, it's kind of a give and take for me. All right, Render Warrior. Is this gonna be a 1 hour or 5 hour stream? Good question. This will probably be in between. This might be like a 2.5 hour stream. Cause there's we got these 2 textures to make, and they're gonna be pretty advanced. I made these months ago, to be honest with you guys. And I don't recall how long it took me to make them. I think it was like a day or so. But I'm thinking that I can do it on the stream here with you guys today. I did it once. I can do it again a little bit faster, hopefully. Yep. Everyone's hair's growing out. I got my hair growing out here. I got this hair clip going on. It's the best. I don't have to gel my hair. I don't have to do my hair. I just hair clip and I'm done. It's great. Any other questions, guys, before we get going? Yeah, I love the Stuntman React video. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I'm such a huge fan of... I did martial arts from age 9 to 19, and it was such a huge part of my childhood and my upbringing, and it kind of shaped who I am today, to be honest. And without it, I wouldn't be the person I am without martial arts. And I'm very, very thankful for it. It taught me a lot. Work ethic, discipline, respect, taking care of my body, being able to train, stretching. It was the first time anyone told me, hey, you need to stretch. So yeah, like, I grew up watching martial arts movies, of course. Jackie Chan was basically my childhood with movies. It was just Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee. And I actually, last night, I watched 36 Chambers of Shaolin for the very first time. I don't know if you guys know that movie, but it was legit really good. So I'd actually love to talk about a scene from that movie on the next Stuntman React. But yeah, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go to Corridor Crew on YouTube and look at our latest video. And we break down awesome fights in cinema, Hollywood, and just basically break it down, and we get a professional to come on and we ask questions, and they have a lot to contribute. So that's what we're talking about, if you guys don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, anything else? I'm using C4D, yeah. An episode on Blender. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make an episode on Blender until I know Blender well enough to give info on Blender that isn't just, stuff you can look up on tutorials, and I'm not just, spitting out other people's tutorial videos. Honestly, the next thing I'll be doing here throughout the year is I'm going to be working on Unreal Engine. If you guys can see, it is my most recent installed program down here. Unreal Engine. It is the future, and I am diving in deep. Sam actually gave me a really nice rundown of all the things he learned in Unreal yesterday. Because he made the Video Gamers React video on Corridor Crew, or it was actually on Corridor, and he did it entirely in Unreal by himself. It took him like 2.5 months, and he learned a whole lot going through that. So I kind of picked his brain yesterday, and he gave me a lot of great info. And Winbush is another guy. If you guys don't know Winbush, he's here on YouTube. He also just started a Discord channel, or a Discord server. And he's got some really nice Unreal tutorials. So I'm going to be working on his tutorials as well, and learning Unreal. So you guys, hopefully, by the end of this year, will see me streaming some Unreal tutorials for you guys. I think it's the future. I think it's the way to go. And I think it's going to just make the kind of work I love doing, the photoreal environments, just so much easier and so much faster. What you advise to make your job? Eduardo, what advice to make my job? Like, are you saying what advice do I have to do the job I'm doing? I mean, if that's what you're asking, I'd just say do what you find entertaining to yourself, what you find interesting, and just basically follow your passion and continue doing that. Um, I really believe in consistency, and it's something that I've been trying to keep up with these streams. I've been doing it once every week for, well, not just me. You guys have been coming back to these things weekly, which is really cool. It'd be a lot less cool if it was just, no one watching. It was me just talking to nobody. So I really appreciate you guys. But yeah, basically, I think if you do anything you're passionate about consistently for a long period of time, it will pay off. And that's what I'm hoping with these streams here, that it just builds and grows and grows. And that's what, Joe Rogan did for his podcast. And look, he just signed a deal with Spotify for 100 plus million. So it's just an example, and he talks about it too. He says, I've been working on this podcast for 10 years and just consistently doing the podcast for 10 years. And it was just fun for him talking with his friends. And I want to keep that fresh for you guys as well. I was actually saying how, like, it's been difficult to come up with things to stream over these last couple weeks because I've been so busy. I hadn't had any time to put any thought into the streams. Cause yeah, it's just so much. There's so much work. There's so much going on that I want to make sure that these streams are as fresh as possible for you guys, and you guys are getting as much out of these streams as possible. So the Discord server, the link's in the description below. Like, that really helps. So if you guys have anything that you want to learn, just at me in the Discord server, like in general chat or something or whatever, and just, give me some pointers on what you guys want to learn here. Obviously, I was talking about doing like a little secret kind of window through a power outlet. You guys probably seen that video. I think they posted it. Someone posted it in the Discord server, where you open up a power outlet, like a little door, and you look through and there's like a room inside. I still want to do that. There's just a lot of prep work that goes into that tutorial, and I just didn't have time this week. So we're breaking down advanced textures. I think that's enough intro. So I'm gonna just like roll it back and start this for the people watching this video after the fact. I'll cut out that whole beginning stuff, and we'll get right into this tutorial in like 2 seconds. All right, guys. Welcome back. That was a weak intro, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're doing it again, guys. We are talking about advanced PBR textures in Cinema 4D Octane. Now, here's the thing. Don't run away. If you don't have Cinema 4D or you don't have Octane, if you're using some other program, stay seated, all right? Because these tips, all right, what we're about to do, we're about to make these two textures. These are some advanced textures, some mixed materials going on. These tips can be applied to any program, any renderer. These images are just made up from noise maps. Minus the rain texture here, which we're going to get from Cornelius Domrick's website. It's free. But, it's the same concept applies throughout all programs, all renderers. You guys are going to be able to make some really cool, some really advanced textures from just noise maps. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So first thing I did here, I go around my day-to-day life, and I am kind of obsessed with looking at textures. I'll just note certain things, certain textures around, and I'll take pictures of them, and I'll be like, I wonder how I would make that in Octane, or if you're in Substance, how would you create that texture? How would you make it look real? So I always start with a reference image, right? So let's see here. Where are we? Let's go my Octane textures. We'll start with the cast iron, okay? Reference. So here's the reference. I have a teapot, cast iron teapot that my girlfriend got me for my birthday. And, you know, it's a cast iron teapot. And I thought, hey, that's a really cool texture. Look at the way, like, the thing rusts and oxidizes here. It gets this, like, orange buildup. It's really cool, and it's actually pretty intricate. You know, you have these little splotches of orange. The outside is kind of a milkier, less saturated kind of pale orange. As we get closer to the inside, you have this really nice bright orange, which is cool. And there's so much detail. There's actually strips of brighter orange, if you look really close. Oh, excuse me. And even on the inside, there's that darker brownish orange, right? So we're going to create that texture. And then we also have just the cast iron itself, right? So that's why I got, you know, this other reference image here of the cast iron itself. And this is pretty simple, actually. It's just, you know, a noise map or two in the bump channel. And I'd say it's definitely a glossy material with the roughness cranked up. So this is pretty simple. And I'd even say that creating this orange rust material is pretty simple. It's just the way we blend between the two, right? So we're going to use a mixed material, and it's going to combine our cast iron, and it's also going to combine this orange rust. And then we're going to use a series of noise maps or noise nodes to blend between both of those textures. And that's how you're getting like the splotches, you know? So that'll be the first material we create. You guys can see it here. You know, the depth of field isn't really helping me to show the texture here, but yeah, and you can also see that it's happening, this rust is only happening on the top where like water would be making contact. Down towards the bottom, you're not really going to have too much rust because the water's not going to collect there, but here in the crevices, the water might collect. Now over here, we have this is a dirty, like car paint texture. It's actually a wet, dirty rain texture. And I was just filling up my car with gas one day, and I have a white car, and it rained, and it was dirty. And I was looking at it, I was like, huh, that's a really cool texture. I would love to create that and see if I can. And I don't know if I have the reference for that. I don't think I have the reference for that, but dang, it's somewhere deep. But yeah, here's like another example. I'll just be walking around like, oh, chipped wall, cool. I'll try and recreate this. But yeah, let's start with that cast iron texture. So yeah, you guys, let me switch it over here. We'll get the stream set up going. All right. Let's render this. Dude, jamming keys. I got you, all right? Don't worry. Nodes, it's the best thing ever, all right? It's also the future. So don't be scared. Let's dive into the things we don't know. Let's learn the things we don't know and up our skills here. Because that's how we're going to learn. We got to dive into the unknown a little bit, right? But don't worry, I got you guys. So yeah, let's start from scratch here. Just a quick overview. This is kind of what, let's see. Let's pop this up into here. This is kind of what we're looking at. This is a combination of two textures. This is our cast iron texture here. And this is our rust texture here. And it's being combined via a couple noise maps through some multiply and add nodes here. Jamming keys, I got you. We're going to figure this one out together. So bear with me, all right? The first thing is probably, I don't know. Let's make a new scene. Let's just start from scratch. I'm going to try not to reference our original kind of texture, the original setup. I'm just going to go right off the top of the head here and try and make this a thing. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, so I'll just, for the sake of this, let's just make a, I don't know. I'll make a tube or something like this, and we'll just bring this down. Kind of just basically just make something to put our texture onto. This is totally fine. Now we have no HDRI environment, so our scene looks very plain. All right. If I were to take a glossy material, which is what we're going to start with, okay, we'll make a glossy material. You can do that by going up to materials right here, making an Octane glossy material. You can also hit Shift C in Cinema 4D and type in glossy, and you got your Octane glossy material. I know my head's covering it, but it's down here on the bottom left. I'm just going to drag it and apply it to the ring, and nothing really looks like it's happening here because, again, we don't have an HDRI environment. So I'm going to make one here. We'll make an Octane sky. We'll go in here, and I'm going to load one of my custom. Oh, snap. I'm going to load. That's for later. That's for later. I'm going to load one of my custom HDRIs. So let's see here. Let's do personal Warzone. I'm putting together like a little Warzone pack. Let's try a plane destroyed fuselage. All right, we'll get out of the Ace's linear space. And yeah, you can see that we're inside of a destroyed plane fuselage here. Okay, cool. So this is already looking better because we definitely want a texture, or I'm sorry, in an HDRI environment, so we can see what our highlights are looking like, all that good stuff. And let's actually take the tube and like give it a little fillet here. Radius or segments 10, radius 2, maybe even 1. Just a little something. Okay. So we're working with something. Now, if I were to pull up that reference image, let's get that reference image going again, the cast iron one. And let's start with just the normal cast iron, all right? Right here. And I'm actually going to load this into PureRef. PureRef is a really nice program that allows you to reference images, and it's cool because it always stays on top no matter which window you have open. So let's I want to open this. Let's see. One moment, guys. I'm going to just drag this in. Cast iron reference, and boom, drag that in, and then we'll also drag in the like rusty one too. All right, so we want to create this texture, this cast iron kind of vibe right here. So the first thing I'm going to do, maybe this HDRI map isn't the best one. Let's get something a bit more on like the bright side. Let's just do battlefield sunny. And that is super sunny and really contrasty. One thing I do is I'll click the image here, and under color profile just set that to linear, and that's gonna kind of normalize things a little bit for all of us. Cool. All right, so let's see. This is definitely a dark kind of texture. So let's open up our node viewer in Octane, and we'll go view frame all, and that should get us right here. Now, we are in node view right now, okay? We have our material right here, and there's a bunch of different slots where we can plug in different numbers and different images and all that good stuff. And over to the right here, we have our attributes, and we can tweak those things right here. So the first thing I'm probably going to do is set the diffuse probably to a darker brown. So I'm just going to go in here and kind of like bring this down, come up here. And you can actually sample with this dropper. You can sample this image there. So I'm just going to pick that color. We can always tweak things later. Christian, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Always hit me with that kombucha. Thank you. I got some in the fridge. I'm going to grab it probably once we finish this texture. So thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Okay, so obviously right now, this is way too glossy, right? It looks like an iPhone screen. We can see the reflections perfectly, and we don't want that. If we look at our reference here, we can see that it's certainly not a mirror, okay? It's broken up. It's reflective, but it's not super sharp. So what we're going to do is we'll go to roughness. And notice here, when I slide this slider up, it disperses our reflections. Now it looks more of like it's getting closer to a matte kind of look, but it's still reflective. It's very important. It's still reflective. Again, we can edit all this stuff later, okay? But let's just work it in. So I'm going to go like 0.15 so we can still see some reflections. Let's see. All right. So next, the most obvious thing to me is the bump channel here. You can see that it's a very fine kind of bump. And it's pretty uniform throughout the entire thing. So it actually gives me hope here that it'll be pretty easy. We might be able to make this from 1 or 2 noise maps. Okay. Now, so over here on the left, we have a bunch of different tools that we can pop out, and they're all called nodes, right? We want to pop one of these things out, specifically a noise node right here. So I'm just going to click and drag, boom. And now we have a noise node. So I can put this anywhere I want. I can take it from the top right here and connect it to the diffuse. And now the noise map, this noise node, is our diffuse, right? It's our color. We don't want that. But we can put it into the bump, right? And that's kind of what we want. But obviously now the projection is off. The projection, it just doesn't look right. So how do we fix that? It's very simple. Go ahead and click your noise node and go to projection. Click right here, projection. And automatically it's going to apply this projection node to your noise node, which is, again, piped into the bump channel for this material. Now, we want to clean up the way this noise node is wrapped around our image. So it's a lot easier for me to see if I right-click the noise node and I go to solo node. Then we can really see what's going on. And it's still a little difficult because it's not as contrasty. So in the noise node, I'm going to take the contrast to just 100 so I can really see what's going on. 2 things I notice. 1, it's stretched and smeared across this whole thing. Second, there's a seam right there. So let's take care of both of those things in one fell swoop. Okay, so texture projection selected. We have texture projection set to mesh UV. Let's change that. Usually I change it to box, and you'll say, hey, it actually looks kind of right now, but you'll still notice there's a seam along this edge and right here. With noise maps specifically, I've found that XYZ to UVW works flawlessly. If you notice here, there are no seams and everything is just kind of all perfect, right? So that's just messing with the texture projection, right? And you'll find that also on the left here, right here, transform and projection. Those are 2 nodes that we can use. Now there's a whole lot here, and there's definitely like a handful that I always use. I'd say starting from the top, these are all just your materials, so you can pull out just full materials, but I usually just have buttons for those. If we go down, image texture, that will just, it'll be looking for an image on your computer, right? You click that, it's going to look for an image, but I just drag and drop the image from my browser into here. So that does it automatically. Sometimes I use RGB spectrum. We'll probably be using that for the rust. Float, I'll use this. This is just a number. So this, you can pipe this float texture into a couple of these different channels, and it's basically a number from 0 to 1, and you can go beyond 1, but it's just a way to, have an integer, have a number that correlates to a certain setting. So I'll use those all the time. I don't really use anything else up here. I don't use any of this OSL stuff. To be honest with you, I don't even know what they are. Transform and projection, those I'm using all the time. But again, if you click your image, it has buttons for those, right? Going on a little further, I always use dirt and I always use fall off. I always use noise. And that's about what I use from this, from the green little tree here. There's a lot from the little red one that I use. I use color correction a lot. I use gradient a lot. Gradient is like levels. I'll use invert, and I'll use mix, multiply, add, subtract. I'll use all of those as a way to combine certain images or certain noises. And we'll be doing a lot of that. Displacement I use a lot. And some of the stuff I use down here as well. So back to it, right? We have successfully wrapped this noise around our tube here. But this bump is obviously way too big. If I unsolo this, it doesn't look right at all. It looks like an interior wall or something. That texture on the wall. I used to have that as a kid. So what we want to do is actually scale it way down. And we want to take the contrast down. Let's go contrast 5 for now. And you can already see it's kind of getting that vibe. It's pushing and pulling. Like bump is a cheat way of adding detail. There's not actual detail in the geometry, which is good because we save on a lot of RAM and memory. So let's scale this down. You can scale it down from the texture projection, but I like to just leave the texture projection node as just that because I'll pipe this into a bunch of different things. So I'm just going to leave that, but I'll click the noise and I'll click the UVW transform button, and that's going to add our transform node. And the transform node is what I'm going to use to scale down our texture. Okay? And let's just get a sense of scale here. Let's figure out how big this thing is. If I were to make a figure, right? We know that, it's pretty big. It's a pretty big tube there. So let's scale this down. Let's scale the tube down. I'm hitting T for scale. And I'm just going to make it just like right between his feet here. We'll delete the wrong one. We'll delete the figure. And then we'll zoom in here. So now we know the scale of this thing, right? So now we can better determine how far we need to go with the scale. So I'll take the transform and we'll scale it down. Maybe even more. So it's 0.02 right now. Let's try 0.015. So right now this looks like scales. Okay. It's too intense and I think it's too uniform. So what I'm gonna do here, under noise, we can actually change Perlin. We can change it to turbulence, and it's gonna kind of switch up if I again right click solo node, you can change you can see when I change the type, it's gonna change the different kind of noise modes. And if you guys want a whole bunch of different noise modes, you can actually scroll down here and use the built-in Cinema 4D noise and put that into the bump, and you're going to have a lot more options. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to use the Octane bump map here. So let's zoom in. Let's zoom in. All right, so I still think it's a little intense. So I'm going to take the contrast down to like 2.5, not 25, 2.5. And I'll take from chips, we'll go turbulence. Let's try taking the octaves to give you guys an idea of what the octaves do. If I were to go 1 on the octave, you can see it kind of doesn't really look nice, okay? If I go 10 on the octaves, it's going to add more detail. Now, the omega kind of breaks these bigger chunks into smaller chunks. So let's, for the sake of seeing what we're doing, let's take the contrast to 50. So octaves 1 it's kind of like a lower detail situation. Octaves 10 is going to give you a lot more detail, which is good. And now the omega, if I set that to 0, that kind of like blurs out the shape a little bit. And then if I take the omega up to 1, that's going to kind of like sharpen it really nicely, which is what we want, right? So that gets you a lot of nice detail. I'm going to right click this, disable the node, and you can start to see how it's kind of getting closer. I think, let's see, what if we take the contrast to 100, and I'll just render a region here. So let's try contrast back to 2.5, and now I'm just messing around, okay? Let's try turbulence, Perlin. I think it's a little small, so I'll take it to 0.25. Okay, and then, yeah, taking the omega down a little bit helps. And you guys can start to see here how just tweaking these little numbers and tweaking the black and white settings on your noise gets you a very certain style of bump, which is what we're going for up here. Now, obviously, it looks very blue because of the sun, or because of the sky. Let's change that for more of an interior HDRI. So let me find, let's see. Let me find one that I took. This one works. Maybe not. Yeah, let's try another one. Parking garage day. Nice. Yeah, this one's cool. It's more of an inside kind of feel. And let's go ahead and save here. Definitely want to save. Okay, so yeah, we can definitely see we're getting this kind of texture going. Let's see if we can add, like, let's mix another node together. All right. And actually, okay, before we do that, it's very easy for me to get sidetracked. Before we do that, let me just show you guys a really cool trick. So if you want to like take down the intensity of this bump here, but you really like the shape of the noise you have, instead of taking the noise and taking the contrast down, what you can actually do is you can use this little trick where you take a multiply node and you grab a float node. So the multiply node is just like when you set a layer to multiply in After Effects or something, right? Let's pipe the noise into texture 1, and we'll pipe the multiply into the bump, and it's going to look the same, okay? And if I compare and store the render, right, these images are the same, but when I put this float texture in, it's set to 0.5 by default. Put that in, it's basically going to minimize the intensity of that bump by 0.5. So you can see it's a very subtle effect, but it's just kind of making the bump a bit more subtle. If I were to take this float texture to 0, that's going to be 0 bump, right? So it's just kind of a slider on how much bump you want. Now you can also go the opposite direction. This is a good way to beef up certain textures, is you can take that to, like, say a 5, and it's going to just be like, you know, it's going to add a lot more crunch and clarity. But in this case, it's such a small thing. It's such a small noise map. I think we're good just as is. So I'm going to delete that. I just want to show you guys something pretty sweet. I will probably be using that a little bit later. But let's take another look at our reference. We always want to go back to the reference here. You can kind of see how, like, there's pockmarks taken out of this. There's these, like, little holes chipped away in this thing, and I want to kind of combine that with this noise map as well. So what we can do, let me see if I can actually pull up another image here. One day I will learn. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you kind of have these like chunks taken out from this thing. So yeah, let's try grabbing our noise. I'm going to hold control, drag. It's going to duplicate it. All right. And then let's pipe the texture projection and the transform into this noise as well. And I'm going to pipe this into the bump. So we know this first bump is good. We just made that. Let's make a second one where there's like holes getting taken away into our texture. So let's actually change this to chips. All right, and we'll right click it, solo it so we see what we're doing. And let's take the contrast to 100. And working the gamma is actually really nice too, because that kind of like changes the exposure of the noise map. And we'll see what that's doing. And dang, that looks really nice. That looks super cool. Yeah, you guys can see how that's really making a difference there. Let's take man, that's awesome. Let's work the yeah, there you go. You can see these chips getting taken out. That's so cool. These deep grooves, you know. I'm wondering here. Let's take the transform. Let's control drag the transform, and we'll pipe that into this node here. So the projection is cool. We can pipe the projection into all the different noise maps we're making, but each noise map might need its own transform. That's why I'm not transforming it from the texture projection. Okay. So let's see. Let's just kind of scale it down. Let's take it to 0.15. Let's try 0.05. And yeah, there we really get those like chips. And if I zoom in here, it might actually be pushing them up. No, they're getting taken down, but it kind of looks like they're getting pushed up too. It's a little intense, so I'm probably going to take the contrast on that and I'll set that to like 5. But honestly, the high contrast kind of helps with, like if we go back here, the high contrast, I think it helps out. And then let's just take the gamma like way up and see the black should be getting pushed down. Yeah. We can also invert it. And that's really nice, actually. You can see the holes getting chipped away in that. You can see anything black is getting pushed down, anything white is staying. So we want to combine these. We want to combine this texture, right? If I store the render buffer, we want to combine that bump with this bump together, right? So how do we do that? A couple different ways you can do that. You can use a mix texture, or I'm sorry, a mix node, and that's just looking for texture 1, which is the first bump, texture 2, which is the holes, and that goes into bump. And that's just going to blend them 50-50, and that actually might just work for what we're doing. Right, you can still see these holes being pushed down, and if we go to this noise, we can probably, yeah, I guess you can't really increase the intensity beyond pure black and white, which is kind of already what it is. But what you could do is maybe take this noise, this first bump, and kind of chill it out. We'll take the contrast to 1, or maybe even 2, and then do that multiply float trick. So we'll grab multiply and we'll just drag it right in there, and we'll grab the float and we want to just kind of bump it up a little bit. So for instead of 0.5, we'll take it to 2. And it's going to kind of beef up that texture a little bit. And you can push and pull these values all day long. But I think at the end of the day, you guys get the idea. Also, just a quick tip here. You can see how this is super white and getting blown out. If I put an Octane camera tag on my camera, and I go to camera imager, you'll have to check this box. There's a little highlight compression slider. And notice this highlight here, if it's white, if I enable the render buffer, and I slide this up, it's going to save those highlights. And you can see the difference right here. So I use that a lot. It's a really, really nice one. Okay, so we kind of have this cast iron effect here just from using 2 noise maps. That's it. Our diffuse channel is set to kind of like that darkish brown color, and I just use this eyedropper and clicked on here. You can also find your own color if you want to desaturate that a little bit more and just make it kind of a black. Technically, it's a totally dark kind of color here. I think we can maybe add a little bit of color in it, like a dark brown or something. That works too. But always, I think the most important thing here is reference. You guys want to reference the actual textures. When you go out on a walk, take some pictures and try and think, how would I create that in post? And that's what we're doing right now. You guys following along so far? We're going to make the rust texture next, and then we're actually going to do some really cool stuff to combine them together to get this like multi-leveled, kind of pattern here where it gets dark on the inside, lighter on the outside, all that good stuff. And yeah, you guys are awesome. You guys are really doing a good job in the chat here, helping each other out. It means a lot. Oh, Winbush, what's up, dude? Hey, man. I was just shouting you out. I was telling them about your Unreal tutorials, and then I'm going to be learning from you. That's awesome you're here. Sweet. Heck yeah. Why do I use a bump over a normal? Honestly, it's because I don't know how to make my own normal image here. If I were to take this multiply and put it into normal, because normal is looking for, yeah, you see it looks all jacked up. Normal is looking for an image that looks like, let's see, I should be able to pull something up really quick. Normal is looking for an image that looks like this. It's actually a color image, and it's pushing and pulling points in 4 directions based on the color. There's green, there's magenta, there's blue, and like maybe yellow or something, or orange. And honestly, I don't know if Octane has something to like the noise equivalent of a normal map. Maybe it does, but I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. I'm just trying to tell you guys the info that I know, and I don't know all the answers. That is for sure. So, okay, we got this little cast iron effect here. This is looking super cool. All right, we can tweak this all you want. But let's make this rust texture, okay? So I'm just going to name this down here. I know you can't see it. I'm just double clicking. There we go. I'm going to double click this. I'm going to just call this cast iron base. And I'm just going to start, and I'm just going to make a diffuse material, an Octane diffuse material. Boom. All right, we're in. All right, let's slide me back over. Okay. So we're starting from scratch again. We're going to make this orange kind of rusty material here. Let's go ahead and name this rust. Cool. Let's save our progress. Now, let's see here. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is apply the rust to the tube. All right. Let's re-render our scene. And we're starting with this. Okay. Let's give our camera a little bit of depth of field, just to make things look kind of nice. And I'll choose where it's focusing. Boom. Sweet. Let's go 2 and 3. Get that anamorphic look. Yeah, you see these highlights in the background. If you set your aperture aspect ratio to 2 and your aperture edge to 3, it's going to give you that anamorphic effect, which looks always like super nice. All right. First things first, let's change the color. I'm going to go to the diffuse tab here. I'll grab the color picker and let's just grab the orange right here. All right. So already, I think we can combine these two materials to kind of get an effect that looks like this. But let me just think about this for a second, because there's different parts of this. There's that like clear kind of pale orange on the outside of all this, like right in here. And then it gets to a more saturated orange, a brighter orange. And then on the inside, on the deepest parts, is that like burnt kind of red, brown, rusty kind of bit. So how are we going to do this? Let's think about this for a second. I'm wondering if all of this is in the way we combine the materials. How would I do this? Okay. Let's grab a noise node and let's pipe it into the diffuse channel. Again, the mapping is off, so I'm going to click projection. I'm also going to give it a transform. We'll set the projection to XYZ to UVW. And I'm going to set the contrast to 100 so we can see what we're doing. Transform. I don't know, 0.1. 0.02. All right, cool. Let's get rid of the depth of field. It's not helping us. Currently not helping us. Come on, yeah. Get. All right, there we go. So we kind of want to use this noise map here, and where there's these black parts, we want to kind of chip into those with different colors. So let's set the contrast to 25 or even, I don't know, 10. That way we have a bit more gray values to work with. It's not just black and white. Now the easiest way to color this thing is with a gradient. So I'm going to go down here, grab the gradient, and just pipe that in to the noise, right? Now it looks the same because it's automatic, just set to black and white by default. But anything that is white, how are we gonna, oh boy. Okay, anything that's white we'll set to orange. All right, so I'm just gonna use the color picker. I'm gonna grab this pale orange because that's the outermost color. We'll hit OK, and you can see that it's this palish orange now. And just for the sake of this, I'm gonna brighten this up. And the next color in is more of a brighter orange. So I'm going to make a new little pip there. Double click, go in, grab the color picker, and I'm going to find just like the most saturated orange I can find. Bam, like right in there. And I'm just going to crank it to a really saturated orange. And you can see now that it's kind of getting us that vibe. Next, I think there's a third one. I'll grab the color picker And I'm seeing here, it might be a little hard to see, but this is like a brightish, more saturated orange on the inside, just one step in. It's kind of a bit more towards that pale color. All right, so I'm gonna hit OK. And then finally on the innermost, I mean, I guess it goes another layer, but on the innermost, we'll select that color picker again, and I'm gonna go that dark red, brown, and this is really tiny, so I need to get in there. And maybe let's see if we can like find a spot like here. That's pretty dark. This is nice, this dark red brown right here. Boom, hit OK. And then finally on the innermost, it's set to like just basically like a dark, really dark brown. So this looks gross. This looks like some nasty like hot Cheeto madness right now. But here's the plan. We're going to mix these two textures together, okay? And I'm probably going to grab the same bump map. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go to the cast iron that we made. Let's grab this whole tree right here, this bump. I'm going to hit Control C. Let's go back to our rust. And I'm going to hit Control V. And that should paste everything. And actually, if you right click it and go auto arrange selected, nothing will happen. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you'll right click it and it'll just kind of clean it up for you. All right, so I'm going to pipe that into the bump. And you'll see that it doesn't really look like it's doing much because it's not really reflecting anything, and it's hard to see without reflections or light values. But it's doing a little something. But I know that this rust is caked on top of this cast iron. If the cast iron bump is set to 1, or let's say it's just set to 100, it's maxed out, the bump on this this rust here is probably a lot lower since it's caked on top and it's kind of smoothed out. It's probably like 25% of the bump of this. So if this float texture, and that's a good thing about this multiply float trick. If I go to the float texture, if this float is 0.5, I want to set it to a quarter of that. So I can just honestly hit times 0.25 and it'll do the math for you. So it's a bit more smoothed out, you know? So now what we want to do is combine this rust with our cast iron. All right, and this is where everything comes together and it looks really, really nice. Okay, so I'm going to make a mix material over here. I have a button for it. You can also go to materials and make a mix material, or again, hit Shift C and type mix, and then there you go, it's your mix material. So let's make one of those, okay, and let's go in to the mix material, and right now it's nothing. It's looking for two materials to mix together, and it's using a float texture set to 0.5 for the amount. So it's basically going to just be like if you were in Photoshop, you put two images on top of each other and you set the top image to 50% opacity. That's the way it's blending together. It's going to look like but you guys will see what I'm doing. A couple different ways to apply this. Let's just kind of bring this down with the mixed material selected. You can see here material 1, material 2. I'm going to drag rust into material 1, cast iron into material 2, and now we have a mess. So find the original, find that mixed material here. Just put it off to the side, and let me actually give us some space here. Okay, so this mixed material is what everything is coming down to. It's coming down to this. All right. And let's actually we should be able to update this. I don't know why those materials aren't piped in. Anyway, this cast iron, weird. What? That's super weird. Why is it? Okay, hold on. That might just be an Octane glitch. I'm going to just try and apply this tube and it looks like it's working properly. And let's go into the mix material, the node editor, and yeah, okay, it's working now. So we just want to make sense of all this. Let's take the cast iron base, right click it, and auto arrange selected. We'll right click it again, and we'll select the hierarchy. So now we have everything that is the cast iron base, all the stuff going into the bump map. And we'll do the same for the rust. So I'll right click the rust. We will auto arrange selected, right click it again, select hierarchy. Boom. That's the rust, all right? And it's all being combined together through this mixed material, okay? Now, we want to combine it together in a special way. We're going to use some noise maps to do that, right? So this is all physically based. That means like you can scale it up, you can adjust and edit all of these settings, and it's just going to work no matter what, which is great. That's amazing. So let's take the flow texture. We're going to delete it. We don't even need it. And let's bring this image back up. All right, so we can see what's going on. And right now it looks like some nasty, like burnt skin, or if you were made of Cheetos and then you got burnt, like you would look like this, or it looks like some pizza. We don't want that. We want it to look like our cast iron reference, like this, right? Minus the water droplets. Okay, we're going for this vibe right here. And I'm also noticing some cool specular stuff going on here, so I might work back and just add that at the end. But let's combine these together to get this look. Okay. So again, we want to combine this in a very particular way. So we have this noise map in our roughness, or I'm sorry, in our rust texture. It's specifically the diffuse that is giving us these colors that are laid out in a very specific way. And we're going to want to kind of basically chip away at this texture, at this rust texture, to reveal the cast iron underneath. Okay, so we want to use the same noise map that is making up this rust texture, because if we were to use just any old noise map, I'll show you guys the difference here. Let's go up here. I'm going to right click the gradient. We'll select the hierarchy. I'll bring this up. This is going to be the basis of how we combine these two textures. All right. So I'm going to take this. I'm actually just going to copy it and paste it down here and here. Let me show you guys what I mean. So right now, if I were to right click the gradient, we'll solo it. Okay. This pale innermost, and let's just make this as let's just pipe this in. Sorry guys, I'm kind of going. Here we go. This like pale most innermost part of the rust, I want that to just be white. Actually, this whole image needs to be black and white. All right. So I think we can just take a color correction node and pipe it in between the gradient and the actual texture itself. And then we can probably, if we solo it, set the saturation to 0. And I don't know if that's doing anything. It's probably like, what? Okay. But here, yeah, this is actually kind of working already. You guys can see that we're using this noise map to reveal the rust or the cast iron underneath. But it's very sharp, and there's too much of it. There's a whole lot of it. We only want the rust to be where there would be water, right? So that would just kind of be on the tops and maybe on the edge right here. But it's not going to be really too much on the sides, And it's not really going to be on the bottom at all. It's just kind of going to be on the top where the water hits. And to prove that to you guys, let's go and navigate to the image. I'm pretty sure there's a way to do this here. Image, all good. I'll just pull it up, and I'll pull up another reference image for you guys to show that the rust only hits where the water is hitting this image. So it's on the bottom. It's kind of on the edges where precipitation builds up, but it's not on the sides here. You know, it's not on the nozzle, just where the water hits. So to do that, what I'm doing to actually do that is use a fall off node, which is really cool. It's a really cool node that allows you to do some really cool tricks. So let's go into our mix material. We'll go to our node editor, and we'll adjust the amount in a second, but let's just get that fall off node going real quick. So let's go fall off. Let's drag the fall off out, and let's pipe the fall off into the amount, just so we can, again, see what we're doing. And by default, it's not doing what we want. It's kind of hitting the edges here. But if we click fall off, and by default, it's set to normal versus I-ray. We want to go normal versus, is it 180? Or is it 90? So 90 gets the edges like that. Let's right click it, solo it to see what's going on. 180 I feel like is what we want. But that's not working. I think it's actually doing the opposite. I think it's hitting the bottom. Yeah, it's hitting the bottom. We want it to hit the top. So I believe, could we just go -1? There you go. And it's just hitting the top. Now again, it looks like Cheeto dust. So we want to adjust that. All right, so we have this fall off node. We'll save that in a second. We'll pipe this gradient back in. And let's just kind of figure out, there's so many, there's a couple things we need to do. I just need to figure out which one we want to do first. Let's, to keep things not confusing, let's focus on how this rust texture, there's just too much of it right now. We know that we need to get rid of it on the sides, but let's just focus on the top. And it's getting rid of the darkest parts. We want it to get rid of the lightest parts, okay? So let's think about this for a second. Let's right click the gradient, we'll solo it. It's getting rid of the darkest parts. We want it to get rid of the lightest parts. So what we could do is simply, we can go to the noise, maybe inverting it. No, inverting it won't work. We can actually add an invert node. And the biggest thing about all the nodes and stuff is you just need to know what is out there. And yeah, we have invert nodes. And now you can see just the darkest parts of the rust are visible. But we want to open that up, right? So that we see that really nice saturated orange and the pale orange as well. So let's go back in and figure out how we're going to do that, okay? So under gradient, let's just take the noise. And remember how I said the gamma is a way to kind of change the exposure? If we adjust the gamma, and it's very touchy, if we adjust the gamma, it's going to kind of open it up a little bit, make it brighter. And I think that's what we're going to need to use to reveal, yes, some of that orange there. So the gamma is set to 1 by default. But let's say we go 1.25. That is basically going to give us, it's going to kind of grow our mask here and show us a little bit more of that image. And now we get the bright orange on the inside. I think we can take the omega and we can go to like 0.8, and that's going to give us a bit more detail that you see in here. And we can also adjust our colors. If we go up to the rust texture and we go to the gradient, we can start moving these colors around and giving it a bit more saturation. This dark brown can be set to more of a darker color. Yeah, something like that. So there's too much of it. We want to kind of chip away at it. So I think if we adjust the, let's see, if we adjust the noise gamma in the actual diffuse, I think let's change that to like 0.2 or maybe 2. Let's try 1.5. I don't think that's how we're going to do it. I think it needs to actually come from down here. We're going to take this noise, we'll go 1.5. Yeah, we need to figure out a way. Let's see, it's not. So you can see how by working the gamma, we can open that up to the more pale noise, or the more pale rust. And then I'm using contrast to clip it. If I go full contrast, it's going to be really intense. But I want to find that line where it just kind of falls off into the actual rust. So there's too much of it. We just need to figure out the best way of reducing that. So I'm going to save and think about this. And I think it definitely has to do with let's see, if I take this gradient and I just set all of these to gray values, yeah, it's going to give us the same thing. What if I take the gradient and what if I just replace the gradient with a default one? What if we adjust the texture, the transform here? So instead of 0.02, we'll go like 0.1. We have to adjust it up here too, so we should actually have the same transform tied to both of these. So we'll set this to like 0.1. But that's obviously too much, so we'll go 0.05 maybe. And one thing, let's see, one thing we can do. Let's see, how are we going to reduce this? That's my biggest thing here. And again, I feel like it's all in the gamma. So if I set this gamma to 0.2 and this gamma to 0.2, that takes it away completely. If I go gamma 0.8 and 0.8, because remember, these are tied together. Let's try again 1 and 1. Right, that gives us that look. Let's try 0.9 and 0.9. That's kind of working it back. Now, this gamma that is combining our two materials together, it needs to be, I believe, a little bit larger than the original, because that's the way we're getting those extra colors, right? So if we set this gamma to 0.9 and this gamma to 0.8, then we should start chipping away at our rust. And that is actually looking a little bit nicer to me. It's now, if we give it some color correction, we can actually start to get some of these orange values to be a bit more saturated. So if we go to the camera imager, in our camera tab here, we'll go saturation. We can just boost that to like, that looks gross, 1.2 or something to get us a bit more of that color. We can also throw like a LUT on here. I know Kodachrome 25 is a real nice one. You can use Portra, and just play with these values a whole bunch. And the camera imager is super fun. I like it a lot. We can adjust the exposure. And, it's just pushing and pulling these values until you feel content with everything. Let's try gamma 1 and 0.9. Actually, what happens if we go 0.5? That doesn't look right. That's not bad. So you just need to make sure that the gamma on your noise that is combining your two materials together is a little bit higher than the one that is controlling the diffuse. And again, that's because they're tied together, and you basically want to allow that diffuse room to come in. So this is our kind of layer with all of our rust here. And again, let's figure out how we can apply that fall off map to just have it so that the rust is on the top versus the sides. So let's get a bit more of an exaggerated example. So I'll set my gamma to 1 and 0.9, right? So we have this rust here, and it's on the sides. We don't want that. So what we'll do is we're going to use our fall off map to make sure it's just hitting the top, right? So this fall off map right here, if we pipe that into the mount, you can really see that it's just allowing the stuff on the top to come through. But that's not what we want, because again, that looks like lava or pizza or something. We want to just have this bit on the top. So I think what we need to do is use an add node to combine these two together. So I'm going to go to add, I'll drag this out, I'll drag the fall off into texture 1, and our noise tree here into texture 2, and we'll put that into the mount, and hopefully it'll work. Okay, totally doesn't work. Let's try a multiply node. Boom, multiply. And basically what we're doing, if I were to explain this here, if I were to right click in solo this. What's the best way to show this? Because right now it's coming off as orange. So I think this is supposed to be white and everything else is black. And then for this other image, this is white and everything else is black. So we want, oh man, this is really hard to explain. Yeah, let me just see if this works. Apologies, guys. I know I should be explaining this. But yes, there you can see it worked. It kept a rust layer with all the holes that are, peeking through to the actual cast iron, but it also took away all the stuff on the side. So if I were to disable the solo there, you can see that it is actually working properly how we want it to. Now, if you want, I think there's another cool thing you can do where you actually like chip away at the rust a little bit more with another noise map or a noise node. So I'll drag a noise node out. We'll give it the texture, the projection, and sometimes it doesn't work. So I'll just put these manually. The projection will come out this way. Boom. And we'll set that again to XYZ to UVW. And we'll pipe that into the amount. And we'll right click it and solo it so we can see what we're doing. We'll set contrast to 100 so we can see what we're doing. It's way too big. Let's disable solo. We'll set it to, we'll go to transform. We'll set that to like 0.1. Yeah, I think that works. We'll go to the noise. We'll set the noise octaves to 10 and the omega to 1. So it's breaking it up in a pretty interesting way. I think we can go maybe omega 0.8. Nah, omega 1 looks nice. And let's maybe change that to, no, I don't think turbulence works. I think Perlin is nice. We can take the gamma up a little bit so it's just kind of like half and half there. That looks pretty nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this node, this black and white node here, to reveal certain parts of this texture setup we have. Whoa. Oh, bear with me. Yikes. Okay. Yeah, we want to chip away at this. So it's like, this is 100%. We have this rust texture across the board here. We want to kind of chip away at that a little bit with this noise map that we set up. So I believe this is when we use add. So I'm going to bring an add out. We'll go pipe that into texture 2. This multiply goes into texture 1. And now hopefully we should see if this works. The edges here will stay the same and we'll just be chipping away at the rust that's up here. Let's see, moment of truth. Totally didn't work. Let's try a subtract node. I thought add was gonna work. Let me actually try switching these around. Switching around the placement. And refresh the scene just to make sure. Okay, yeah, that doesn't work. And it's either multiply, add, or subtract. And it depends on what is black and what is white. It can be a bit confusing sometimes, so I'll just give these a shot. Oh, I tried add again. Come on. And it's probably multiply. It's usually always multiply. Okay, let's try the multiply again. Last chance. And I believe that is working. Let's try flipping around these slots here. And when we adjust this noise, if I set the gamma to 0, it should be default. If I set the gamma to like 100, there should be nothing. So maybe setting it to 1. I think it's taking away too much. It's taking away too much. So you just got to be very subtle with it. And we'll go back to linear just so we can see a bit more of what's going on. And I think, again, it's taking way too much. So I'm just going to go back to the original there. And yeah, that's basically your rust material. I'll switch out the HDRI so you can see it in another lighting scenario. There you go. Yeah. Gross, why did I do that? Yeah, so that's the idea. You know, you can apply this to anything you want and it's just going to work. Like an oil tank or something. Set this to 100. And again, we did create this material from the standpoint of like a smaller object, so it's only going to really work when you like zoom in. If you want it on something huge, you might have to change the transform on those noise maps. But let's take like let's take a sphere here, scale it down. We'll set it to 100, and we'll just chop the top of it off. Like this. We'll go UI to invert selection. And I'll select all those polygons on the sphere. Control A. And then I'll hit, what is it? MT for extrude. And I'll make sure create caps is on. So that'll give it some thickness. And then I'll hit, let's see, E for scale. And I'll just bring that down so this is flat up here. And then we can even give it some bevel. So I'll hold shift and give it a little bit of bevel. It's way too intense. We'll set the offset to 0.1. Even that is too intense. So we'll set that to 0.02. And we'll set subdivisions to like 3. Maybe it's 0.03. 0.035. And then we'll apply the material to that. And there you go. You have like a rusty old pot. Right, and we can kind of, you can see the rust down there as it collects at the bottom, and it's on the edges here, looking nice. So yeah, you guys can push and pull those numbers all around to get the desired effect, the desired scale. You can tweak the colors, all that cool stuff, and you saw how that you can create this from scratch with just noise. Now, if you guys are still hanging out, let's take 3 minutes or so to take a break and just catch up, and then we'll make that dirty rain texture using similar techniques. But I also think it's a little bit different. It's similar in the sense that like we're going to be taking that rain map, and let's all download that right now. If you guys are following along, let's go to Cornelius Domrick's website. That's corneliusdomrick.com. You guys can see it here. Boom, corneliusdomrick.com. And for those of you who just want a link, I think that's the one. If you go to tutorials and you scroll down right here, 8K raindrop displacement. This is the only raindrop displacement texture I know of on the internet. It's one of the best. And that actually gives me an idea, or it reminds me of an idea. So like you guys know, I'm working on a custom HDRI tutorial. It's coming along. It's just taking a lot of work. I don't have much time to work on it, so that's why it takes so long. But I'd like to do another one as well. I'd like to do a displacement tutorial and talk to you guys about surface in, or not displacement, I'm sorry. You guys, you know when I'm talking all straight for like 2 hours, I start to lose my mind. A surface imperfection tutorial, okay? And I'm going to break down all the different surface imperfections that you see in real life, and I want to actually make my own surface imperfections with you guys. And we'll make a cool rain one, right? We can make some fingerprints. We can make grunge. We can do a scratch one. And I'm actually going to like, set it up. Like I'm going to get a plane of, a window plane and put water all over it and have a black backdrop and light it and take a picture and get a real nice image and go into Photoshop and tweak those. And we'll learn how to make our own surface imperfections. I think that'll be super fun. We'll bust out some paint. We'll get some fingerprints on a white canvas kind of thing. So that's later. That's down the line. But yeah, if you guys are following along, download this raindrop displacement map because we're about to use it. All right. How's everybody doing, guys? We got thumbs up? Thumbs up all around? And Winbush, glad you're still here, man. It's cool for you to hang out. Yeah, texturing's intense, man. It's like there's just a lot that goes into it. It's my favorite though. I love spending a lot of time getting something to look nice because at the end of the day, like making things photoreal and putting them into actual footage, that's what I do. It's what I've been doing since I started VFX. So yeah, I love it a lot. And again, I really want to learn Unreal because you can get some photoreal results with that program. And I want to be able to create photoreal environments like you guys see all over, from Quixel and stuff. That's the goal. That's the dream for me this year. Like at the end of this year, I want to be able to create something awesome in Unreal. Sweet. Why? Oh, okay. So this is a question I get sometimes. Why I have two versions of After Effects? There is a plugin there's a plugin called Real Steady, and it is the best camera stabilization plugin that there is. Personally, that's what I believe. They only have it for 2014 After Effects, so that's why I have that. Maybe they updated it, and they have, hopefully they've updated it at this point. But that's why I have two versions of After Effects, because it's the only one. It's the only one that has it. All right, guys, let's hop into this second and final texture here. Okay, it's the rain. This rain texture, dirty rain. How do we do it? Okay, let's start with. Let's just hide the sphere. And let's change out our HDRI. All right. And this time I don't have a reference image. I know there was one around, but I don't have it with me. All right, let's open up this Warzone HDRI pack. I want to release a bunch of Warzone HDRIs for you guys. I think that'd be really cool. Right now I only have 6 or 7, but I'd love to get like 30 solid ones and like release it on Gumroad for like $5 or something. Let's do the destroyed helicopter. The interior of a destroyed helicopter. Cool. Yeah, we're looking around here. That's fun. All right, so let's just make a sphere real quick. I'll scale it down. We'll give it some segments. And yeah, that's not really looking like anything at all, okay? Because it needs textures. That's what we're doing. So I'm going to make another glossy texture, an Octane glossy texture. Okay? I'll drag and drop. And you can see here, based on these reflections, we're getting some reflections, which is exactly what we want when you have a wet kind of material. So let's see here. I'm not going to go into a car shader because that's pretty advanced. But what I will do is talk about how to get this dirty rain effect. And just so we know it's working, I'm going to make the sphere editable. I'm going to hit UL for a ring selection. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to grow selection with UY. I'll hit MT for extrude, and we'll just extrude that out. So we're kind of making this like almost Saturn looking kind of deal here. And I'll just kind of scrunch this down a little bit. Okay. The reason I do this is because I want to show you guys how we can get the water to collect in the corners. And it gets a bit dirtier in the corners, right? If we reference our original image that I had for you guys, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Yep, right here. You can see that in the corners, things get a little bit darker, a little dirtier here in the corners. And then it's a bit hard to see in this image. Way to render out a test image that doesn't really give the example. But in the rain map, you can see that the inside of the rain holds more dirt than the outside. So yeah, we'll be breaking that down. All right. So let's just bevel these edges. I always like to hold shift and drop a bevel modifier on there. Offset 0.02. Let's try 0.1. And we'll work, let's see. We'll work this slider until use angle. Yeah, I want to use the angle. But here, let's see if that works. I want to get that inside angle. And I think it's just like a little too intense. Ah, come on. 0.15. 3. And heck, I'm going to go to edge mode, UL for loop selection. Why isn't it working? Ring, is that a ring selection? UB? No, it should be UL. Oh, it's because it's not optimized. Go to segments, Control A, hit UO. It's going to optimize it, and then it should. It's still not working. Jeez. Edges, UL loop selection. Why? Let's try another trick. Polygons, UL loop selection. Let's select that one. Hold Control, switch to edges. In fact, hold Control, switch to points. Deselect the top group of points. Holding Control, getting rid of those. Holding Control again, go to edges. Now we have that edge selected. So with that selected, I'm going to hit UL, hold Shift, get that one. We're going to set the selection. You can go to Select, Set Selection. It's going to make a little selection, edge selection tag. We'll go to our bevel. We will drag that into selection. And it should be optimized. I don't know why it's doing that. Bevel should be MS. UO. I know that optimizes things, but I don't know why that isn't working. Do you guys have any pointers for me? I did the caps on extrude. Oh. I see. Okay. What on earth? Okay, how about we just start from the top here, guys? Apologies. Boom, boom. This shouldn't. Oh, God. Yeah, I kind of suck at certain aspects of this. 1, 2. We'll go UI to grow. MW. No, I'm sorry. MT. All right, so let's extrude it. What? What is happening? Why is it not working? Guys, I don't know what's happening anymore. I'm gonna just brute force this. We're gonna go with a tube, okay? And we're just gonna brute force it. We're gonna give it a fillet. That's totally fine. It gets the point across, all right? And that right here will be the model we apply the texture to. All right, doesn't matter. At this point, it just doesn't matter. So we got this glossy material. We want it to look like it was rained on, okay? So I think the best way to do that is to use that Cornelius Domrick displacement texture. So I'm going to go into our node view. We'll go view frame all, right? We have our material. And usually you can apply this to either the bump or the displacement. Let's see what works better. Let's get that image going. Where are you at? Raindrop displacement. Let's drag and drop that in. Cool, cool. And let's put that in the bump for now and see what happens. So it looks kind of weird if we zoom in. It's not really doing what we want. I think, again, the texturing or the projection and the transform is all off. So let's first fix the projection, and we'll go box. And now it still looks weird. Let's right click it and solo it and see what's happening. It needs to be transformed down. Let's try 0.1. And there you go. You can start to see the effect there. So I'm going to right click and disable the solo. And then the soloing really helps see what is going on and what it looks like. Now, I don't think bump is the right place to put this. So I'm actually going to try displacement. So we'll go to displacement here and we'll add a displacement node. You can also find that by scrolling down, and it's just here on the left. So if we zoom in, let's take this image, let's pipe it into this texture displacement. Undo the bump, and I think Octane's going to crash. Oh my goodness. Okay. So usually what I do before putting anything into displacement is I'll just set my settings. So the height will go to 1 centimeter. Mid-level we'll set to 0.5. And the level of detail, this is an 8K texture. I'm going to go 4K for now. This is craziness all over the place. Let's keep bringing the height down. 0.1. Let's take it out of the bump channel. Let's right click and solo it to see what's happening. Let's make sure we're using the right image. I believe so. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we just want to make sure we're using this actual displacement one. I was using something else. So this displacement one is actually gray. The gray is like, the gray isn't going anywhere. White is what gets pushed up. Okay. When you set your mid-level to 0.5, the gray goes nowhere. So let's try that again. Okay, let's disable the solo, and now it should look a bit more natural. All right, let's take the transform back up. Let's go 0.5. And it's kind of hard to see here, but this actually looks pretty nice. I can see that it's working, and it's breaking up the image pretty nicely. You can see these little bits of water and stuff. So what we want to do is basically in the diffuse channel use this texture here that is our diffuse, or that is our displacement, right? We want to use that to only put a certain color, in our case like a black dirty color. We want to put a certain color inside of those raindrops. So let me show you guys. Let's go up here. We'll go to an RGB spectrum at the very top, right here. This little blue bunch here, RGB spectrum. We'll bring that out. We want to make sure by default it's white. Let's set it to black. Okay, and let's pipe. Let's see how we can do this. We want to only have. Okay, here's what we'll do. I'm thinking out loud, so apologies. Let's control drag this raindrop material up here so we have a duplicate. Transform and projection should be exactly the same, okay? It's very important that they're exactly the same because they're working together, all right? Let's pipe this displacement into the diffuse channel and see what we're getting. Oh boy. Okay. So Octane is pretty stupid sometimes. There's a glitch here where you can't adjust the transform of your displacement. It actually, but why is it working in this case? Is it only when you have a diffuse going? Because, oh goodness. Okay. Let me think about this for a second. Maybe this does need to be in the bump channel. Transform should be 0.1. And I feel, yeah, I feel like we still get the effect. We can chill it out by using that multiply float trick. So I'm going to drag a multiply in between the image and the bump channel, and I'll put a float into the second texture here, the texture 2 slot. And we'll just set it, it's set to 0.5 by default, which is going to kind of chill out that rain a little bit, but I think that looks nice. That's not bad. Now it's going to work. Okay, so let's take this rain image, control drag it up, pipe in the original transform and projection nodes. All right, and put that into diffuse. Now we want to crunch this pretty hard. So anything that's gray, we want to be black. Anything that is light gray, we want to be white, okay? So let's first right click and solo it, and let's just work the gamma to see what we can do first. So I'm looking for the most contrast. I think just cranking it up to 8 probably works. And then I'm going to put in a gradient node here, which is basically levels. And we'll solo that. And I'm just going to take the white and crank these values together. Let's see how far this goes. The black is very finicky. Okay, see, that's about as far. Ooh, that is touchy. But basically, wherever there is white or a light gray, that's where we're going to have actual color, right? Anywhere where there's black, there will be no color. So I'm just really trying to be careful here. It's so finicky. Let me see if just changing the gamma back to 1 works for us, because then, or was it set to 2.2 by default? Yeah. Let's try again. Yeah, there we go. It's going to be easier to control. There we go. So this is going to be how we distribute our color across the image. So let's see here. Let's think about this. We want the inside of the rain to be darker than the paint that it's on. So let's undo that. Let's take that out of diffuse. Think about this for a second. Let's make a mixed material, or a mixed node. All right, so we're gonna take a mixed node and let's duplicate our RGB spectrum. Let's set it to the color just white. That's what's 0.9 across the board. So that is going to be our base color for our object, is controlled through this RGB spectrum in texture 2. Texture 1, this will be our dirt. That'll be piped into texture 1, okay? Now if I put that into diffuse, it should just be gray because it's mixing them by half by default. But we don't want to mix them that way. We want to mix them with this dirt map we created. This one here. So let's take this and put this into the amount. And hopefully now it's not doing much. Let's try switching these two around. Oh, that's because it's not, we need to put the mixed texture into the diffuse, okay? So the mixed texture goes into diffuse, and it's the opposite of what we want now. So we want to flip. We could either change the colors, or we could just flip these around. I think I'll just switch the order of these. And there you go. You can see how we have a dirty rain texture, right? So I'm using the actual rain image, okay? And the reason we're not using noise in this case is because this is a very specific kind of noise. I don't know of any noise that looks like rain. And this is the only rain image I know of on the internet that's seamless and super high quality. So you guys can start to see how you can get like a dirty rain texture with this little trick. Now the mapping is a little weird. It's set to box, which makes it weird. If I set it to, let's see, let's try setting it to XYZ to UVW. I don't think it's going to work. It usually, yeah, it does this weird thing where it stretches it like that. Now there might be something that I'm missing. Object space, world space. I don't know. I might be missing an element here. I know Ashthorpe uses this method a lot, but I don't know if he's doing anything extra. Let's try transforming it. I think it just needs rotation. Maybe it needs to be like rotated 90 degrees on one of these axes here. But it's still just looking weird. It's always going to be looking weird in one direction. And I hadn't found out the answer. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any tips for me on this. Would spherical work? I mean, yeah, spherical might work, but like you'd want something that works across the board for everything. But let's try spherical real quick. We'll go texture projection. We'll set that back to 0. We'll try spherical. Yeah, I'd say that looks pretty nice. I think we need to transform this up a little bit. We'll try 0.5. But it's still looking weird. It's looking stretched here on this bit. It's a tough one. I think it's a case-by-case situation. triplanar. Triplanar just takes it away completely. Yeah, triplanar's not working unless I'm doing something wrong or unless it's like so small I can't even see it. Let's just try cranking it to 20. No, 100. Yeah, it's not really doing a thing. I need an additional node to make it work. Can you guys explain to me this triplanar situation? You need the triplanar node. Okay. Oh, I see it right here. Triplanar node. I've never used this before. Oh my god, it looks complicated. Texture, triplanar node, input. Okay. So it'd be the texture. Let's try this. Let's give this a shot. So it's the texture into the triplanar node. Man, this might have to be a tutorial situation here. Plug the texture into X and click use single texture. Plug the texture into X. Single texture. Okay. And then this goes into the I guess that'd go into the multiply. Now, let's just try bump. Yeah, that kind of works. So is the triplanar like the last thing in the sequence? Like, does it go mix texture into the triplanar and finally into diffuse? Or is triplanar like the first thing that it goes through? Because technically this triplanar would be here in the sequence. But it took away the dirt somehow. Somehow it took away the dirt. So it's a little small. Would I still just use this transform to scale things up? But that's not applying to this one up here. Yeah, that one's big now. Oh, is that working now? I think. Yeah, we're good. I just needed to delete. Let's see. Let's set this to 0.5. It still looks like it's tearing down here. All right. Yeah, I'm still seeing like it feels like it's actually still tearing, but that might be a tutorial for myself for another time. So this is basically the idea, guys. Let's just see if we can get some dirt in the corners. So the way I'm gonna do that is through a dirt node. So let's take the green chunks here, this green bit. We'll go dirt. We'll pipe that into diffuse to see what's going on. By default, I can already see some darkness here. I think I can. Let's take the strength to 10 so we can see what we're doing. And yeah, sure enough, it's working down here. So what I'll do is we'll use this image here. We'll combine it with this image here. So we want both of these. Basically, wherever it's white is where the dirt is showing up. But in this case, in our dirt map, it's the opposite. So we want to flip these colors around, and I think the easiest way, if we invert this, I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, that's going to get the edges. We want the corners, and the best way is probably to throw in a gradient and to just flip these colors around. And that should do it for us. Yeah, so it's just white in the corners there. So this is what we'll be using, and we're going to, I believe, we want to keep the white here, but we also want to keep whatever is white in this texture as well. We want to add these together. Okay, so we're going to use the add node. We'll add the dirt, and then we'll add the rain. Okay, and we'll pipe that into diffuse, solo it, and this is what we want. This is exactly what we want. So this is what will go into the amount, right? So we'll take this add, and the add goes into the amount. We'll unsolo it, and now you'll see, let's take that out of diffuse, and we just gotta organize some things here. Let's take add. We will auto arrange that hierarchy, select it, and just move it around over here. The triplanar will go into diffuse. Maybe the gradient, let's see, maybe we flip the gradient around again? Or maybe it wasn't add, maybe it was, weird. Because I feel like this is what we want. This is totally what we want. Anything white is where there will be dirt. That makes sense to me. Yeah, that makes sense to me. The triplanar is taking it away. What on earth? Oh, I'm gonna do away with these triplanars for a second, guys. And the image texture, we'll just give it the projection again. We'll set it the box transform 0.1. Just for now. These nodes are a combination of, they're actually just Octane nodes. They're not C4D nodes. This is all in Octane. But again, these tips can be applied to, any program. any renderer. So we're close. We just want, let's see if we can actually tweak this dirt map. It's not looking as nice as I think it can be. So we'll go to the dirt map here, or the dirt node, and we'll take the strength down to just 2. So it's a bit more subtle. All right, I'm gonna take the transform. We'll go 0.08, maybe 0.05, just to scale things down a little bit more. And let's just see if we can get that dirt in the corner to only be where the rain is. I think that would be nice. So, I mean, but I guess the rain is going to pull up in the corners no matter what. I wonder what the best bet on this is. Let's try it though. Let's try just to get the dirt in the corners only where the rain is. So how I would do that, let's think about this for a second. Let's see. So we only want this dirt we want to subtract shoot. Okay, this is getting, yeah, this is where the advanced part comes in. This is where my brain starts to hurt. Let's see if I make the most sense of this. So this is, our rain is showing up on all of this. We only want the corners to be darker only at these little parts where it's white along the corner. So basically we want this to fade out. So maybe instead of adding, let me try throwing a multiply in here. Yeah, that's it. That's where we want our extra dirt. Okay. So what I did was I took our dirt layer and I put it into a multiply along with our rain layer. And that's giving us just this band of dirt, which is just in the rain, okay? So I think what we want to do is combine these together. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. So it's barely getting that there. So we want to combine these. The add is everything, but we want to remove it. Let's see. We want to remove this bit. So, whoa, would this work? Okay, do we subtract this and this, and that's what we do? Yeah, this is getting us into some crazy experimenting here. What if we invert that? No, that's not what we need to do. What if we invert this? Whoa, okay, that's insane. How do I remove this dirt where there's white? And double down on the other dirt in the rain. Boy, this is tough. Do we add it again? There we go. I think it's actually working now. You can see how the rain is a bit darker here in the corners. Yeah, I'm adding these together, so it's kind of more intense in the corner bits there, as you can see. And you can adjust the dirt map to be able to kind of open up how far that goes. So if we take the radius to like 3, that's going to just make that dirt in the corners more intense. If we set it to 10, or 20, whatever, we can start to open up where that dirt pulls up and gets into. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I'm feeling that. Now, here's another trick. Again, we'll use the fall off node to just be able to tell this thing like, hey, only stick to the tops of everything, but everything on the bottom, like the dirt isn't going to collect on the underside of things. It's more going to just hit the top and collect in the corners. So what we'll do is we'll use a fall off node to do that, just like we did with the rust. So let's just take a second here to clean things up. I'm going to right click, auto arrange, and then we'll select the hierarchy. That's our diffuse. All of this is going into the diffuse, and we'll do the same for bump. We'll select it, select the hierarchy, we'll auto arrange it. Yeah. All right. Now let's see if we can incorporate a fall off node. So we only want this rain, just the dirty parts of the rain, to be on the top and the corners. So let's take the fall off and pipe it into diffuse and see what's happening. Let's solo it. This is how you get a nice car paint shader. You can say that like all of basically like the speckles and all that are happening on the outside, but on the inside it's just pure reflection. So by default, this is kind of set to like a car shader setup. But if we set it to normal versus vector 180, it's just going to hit either the top or bottom. And again, like with the cast iron, we'll set the fall off direction to -1. That way it's just hitting the top. So let's disable the solo on that. You can see how it's working. Now, we should be able to just set this to multiply if we combine this fall off in texture 2 with fall off, or with this whole tree we made in texture 1, and we pipe that multiply into diffuse and unsolo. Or wait, hold on, it wasn't soloed. Okay, that's not working because multiply is probably not the tool for the job. I'm going to switch the order to confirm it's not the tool for the job. Let's try add. I think add will probably do it. And there we go. It looks like it's doing something. Like it's, I wonder if I need to invert it. Because it looks like there isn't any dirt on top. But there's dirt on the bottom. So we need to invert that fall off node again. So let's take the fall off. Let's just go back to 1. And now I think, hopefully, should be working. I'm seeing dirt in the rain up here, but I'm not seeing dirt in the rain down here. So confirmed, it is working. Sweet. And this is all based off of a texture I built a couple months back, based off of an image. It's all about basing it off of a reference image, okay? So this feels really fun to me. I think this can be applied to different stuff. Let's take I don't know. Let's grab some, like a landscape or something. I'll scale it way down. And we'll just make this a bit more dramatic. We'll take the rough and fine furrows up to 100%. And we'll give it more segments. And let's apply the material to it and see what it looks like. So this is rain that is running down like a pane of glass. So going side to side here looks a little weird. But it looks like it's doing its job. Like in the crevices, it's actually darker, which is really cool, which is it's totally what we want. And we could go one extra level here and give the reflection a bit more variety, right? So let's see if let's go back to our sphere. Let's go back to our image or our texture, okay? And we want to mess with the roughness. So let's just pull out a noise map, pipe it into the, again, I usually pipe things into diffuse and set the contrast to 100 so I can actually see what we're doing. And again, we'll make those projection and transform nodes. Projection with noise, always XYZ to UVW. It makes it seamless. And transform we'll take down to like, again, so this is our, we're breaking up the reflections. So I think we can go with a little bit something larger, and we can go into the noise. Let's set the omega to 1, the octaves to 10, and I think that'll be pretty nice. Maybe omega 0.8. Nah, I like 1. And maybe we scale this up a little bit more. And this is how we'll break up our reflection. So let's pipe in our diffuse tree that we made here, okay? And we'll go and take our noise and pipe that into roughness. And what it's going to do, if we solo it, it might be the opposite of what I'm about to say, but anything that's black is completely matte. Anything that's white is completely reflective, okay? But let's see if we can set up our environment so that we can actually tell the difference. I'm going to take out the diffuse to make things easier. I'm going to take out the bump to make things easier. And I'm going to set the color of this to black. And now we can actually see, this noise map that is breaking up our roughness. So it looks like if I were to solo this, anything that's white is completely rough. Anything that's black is like fully reflective. So this is a little too bright then in our case. Let's set the gamma, let's bring it down. And we don't want anything to be completely rough because, again, if this is covered in rain, it's going to be glossy pretty much all the way across. Certain parts might just be glossier than others. So what we'll do to make sure that this white isn't entirely just white, we'll go and add a gradient node, which again is like levels. We'll set we'll set white probably to mid-gray. And if we solo it, you can see how the white goes to a mid-gray. And the black we can actually crank up and just say that, it's just fully reflective, like the water has just hit it perfectly. and we'll disable the solo. And you can see how it kind of breaks that up a little bit. We can go to the noise. Maybe we take the gamma. We work the gamma a little bit more. So there's a bit more gray values here. And let's actually take the contrast back. Something like this. And you can see how that starts to look a little bit more wet. And the more we bring in the black slider, the more things get like super glossy, super wet. So that just breaks up the roughness a little bit and adds a bit more more character to our texture. So we'll drag in the bump again, and we'll drag in the diffuse again. And it's very subtle, but when this thing is in motion, when it's moving around, you can tell those details really count for something. And that's basically it, guys. Those are two pretty advanced texture setups here in Octane, but it's things that you guys can take and transfer to any program, any renderer. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys see like how crazy texturing can get and how fun it is. Like it's all really like a puzzle for me, and I enjoy that aspect of it so much. So, two more things here before we dip out. Oh, you're saying ice? You want to make ice? How would I make ice? Okay, let's try it real quick. Let's just try it. I'm gonna make, let's see, this will be fun. Should be pretty simple. Let's do a new scene. Let's start from scratch. I'm gonna just drop in a new HDRI, and we'll just grab any one of these field barrels. All right, we'll render. We're not going to see anything except for HDRI. And let's make a cube because that's what, it's an ice cube. And we'll give it a little fillet. Subdivide. Yeah, 3 is fine. We'll kind of crank it up here like an ice cube. And then I'm going to hold, let's give it some segments. Let's go 10 by 10. Let's hold shift and drop in a displacer. Let's go shading and give it some noise. And let's scale up this noise. Something like that. Maybe. That's like kind of like an ice cube. This will be pretty simple. So make a specular material in Octane. That's like glass, right? You drop it in, and right out the gates, it kind of looks like an ice cube. Let's see. I feel like an ice cube kind of has an element of subsurface scattering where like the inside gets a little bit more thick, and it's harder to see through, but on the edges, you can see through it a lot more. And again, you're going to have to reference an ice cube for this, but I'm just going to try here right off the bat and see if I can't get this looking nice. Let's open up this specular material. And if you don't see anything, you can click Get Active Material. If you still don't see anything, go View, Frame All, and that'll get you there. So, we can grab a noise node and pipe it into the roughness. Again, projection and transform always with noise nodes. XYZ to UVW. Take the transform. Let's solo it so we can see what's going on. We can't see anything. Let's take the contrast to 100 so we can see something, and it looks pretty tiny right here. Let's maybe scale it up with the transform. We'll go 5, and let's set the omega to 1, octaves to 10, and that kind of breaks it up there. Maybe the gamma can be set to 1.2, so we have a little bit more of, we still don't see anything. I don't know if that's an Octane bug or what. Let's take transform. Let's go up even more. Set the contrast to like 5. And then let's give it like a gradient and just kind of chill out one of these. I don't know which one yet. If we make it all white, then that's okay. We need to go the other way. So we need to take white and go like mid gray. So that's a quick ice cube. But if you want to do it, I feel like the best way to do this would be to actually use a medium here. So if we go to medium and we go to absorption and scattering, right? Let's get rid of the roughness for a second and let's take a look at what this is doing. So absorption and scattering is basically like filling it up with like a little cloud, right? The density is 100. If we set that to 0, we should be able to see right through. Let's try setting it to 1. Okay, so that's kind of filling it up a little bit. Let's give some RGB spectrums here. We actually need to pipe some stuff in. Absorption, let's control drag, and scattering. So scattering, I think, does the opposite of the color you put in. So if I take scattering and we set it to like a blue, it should go yellow. Yeah, it gets kind of crazy. So let's chill out on that for a second. Let's go to the absorption and say the absorption, let's just set to like a neutral, like a mid kind of gray. But if it's an ice cube, let's see. Let's adjust these scattering settings. I feel like it's the RGB spectrum on the scattering that's doing what we want it to do here. And we can just set these colors. So this is maybe more of like a turquoise bluish kind of color. It's maybe more like an ice cube. And I think if you go to common fake shadows, I forget what that does. I think it helps with like light and stuff. But it's just too glossy. I feel like it needs more reflection or more roughness. So let's just pipe that roughness in. And that, yeah, still doesn't feel right. This is when I would help, or when a reference would help. You know, seeing what an ice cube looks like. So I'm just going to pull it up real quick and see. Ice cube. Not the wrapper. Ice cube block. Yeah, these are like stock images here. That's cool. You can see what I mean by the scattering. You know, it's harder to see on the inside, but on the outsides, you're able to see through a little bit more. Is that even real? It looks so photoshopped. Oh, it has bump. It has bump. Definitely. So we would want to give it some bump. So you can just, I don't know, pipe this noise into the bump as well. And I feel like the roughness is a little intense. Yeah, these settings are so finicky. But yeah, you guys can see, you can go to town with all this and spend forever, but we don't have all the time in the world to spend on this. It's kind of the idea, though. It's kind of the stuff you'd be wanting to mess with. So yeah, texture's the best. You can make anything you want. So you guys know that we do a weekly challenge here, and I'm gonna announce the winners, right? But before I announce the winners, I want to let you guys know or fill you in on this next weekly challenge. So I challenge all of you. You have 1 week to go outside, take some pictures with your iPhone, your Android, whatever. Find a texture outside that you think looks awesome and that you think would be fun and challenging to recreate in whatever program you want. Okay? Take the picture, include your reference image, all right? And then create that texture from scratch. And go ahead and post that image, post the reference image, and even take a picture of your node tree, okay? Try and keep it completely, physically based, right? So try and do it from noise maps and stuff. You don't want to just download an image or a texture from Megascans or something. Try and create this yourself with noise maps. It's really fun. It's actually really, really cool. I understand that you can't really do everything, as you guys saw here with like the rain. I needed that image of the rain. But definitely, try and make it from scratch. Try and work on it yourself and put some time into it. And, show me your texture on a couple different objects and how it works across the board. And I think it'd be really fun. Yeah, it'd be super cool. Maybe, I don't know if the winners are cool with giving out their textures or something to people, or maybe we'll get some, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out the prize thing. But we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out in time. So that's the challenge to you guys. I'll restate the challenge once I announce the winners of this last week's weekly challenge, just so we make sure everyone's clear. So yeah, the last week's weekly challenge was to tell a story through a chrome ball, right? Which is kind of out there. It's kind of a very interesting topic. And I gave the example of, who did? It was a chrome ball pencil drawing by, I don't think it was Dali. No, it wasn't Dali. It was Escher. Yes. Oh, hold on. The cat's just opened up the screen door. Let me take care of that. So I gave this as an example to tell a story through a chrome ball. And this is obviously this super cool image here. If I can zoom in, you can see here there's a little story going on. He's in a room. He drew his hand. It's super cool. Super, super cool. So that was the prompt for last week. And before I announce the winners, I just want to give a quick shout out to one that I thought was really cool. You didn't make it, but you got really close. And I'll tell you why. This is John Malcolm here on the Discord server. And I think this is a really, really nice image. You did a really great job with all of your textures. And your composition is very nice. Your lighting is very nice. Like, this texture here is great. Fantastic. But again, the prompt was to tell a story through a chrome ball. And I'm just not really getting a story here as much as I would have liked. You can tell that it's like, they're doing some polishing, but it was really close. Like, this is nice. This looks really, really nice. You can tell here that he combined this cloth with this like lead almost, or polish, with like a mixed material. It looks super, super nice. Definitely missing some surface imperfections here on this wood handle, but I guess that's the point. You're kind of polishing all this stuff. But God, this looks so nice right here. This is great. And this displacement map here you have, or this bump map, is great too. Very close, John Malcolm. Very, very close. You're just looking for more of a story. So, without further ado, let's get to our 5 winners of the weekly challenge, guys. And we will start here with Zalumi. This is freaking awesome. Like, this is great. It's not a render. Certainly not a render. It looks like a Photoshop drawing, but hey, that's okay. You know, the point is to do your thing, work on your passion, work on your artistic, creative passion, and that's exactly what Zulumi did here, telling a story, the story of Indiana Jones sneaking into the temple, trying to switch out the chrome ball for the sack of, I don't know, whatever's in sand or something. This is great. Yeah, I really dig this. I think you did a really, really good job here. I think it's unique. And it's nice to see some drawings and paintings here on these weekly challenges. So that's fair game, guys. Great work. Zulumi, congratulations. You are a weekly challenge winner. So you'll be getting the role of challenge winner this week. Stealing it from someone who won the other week. So you got to earn them back. Next up, guys, we have an image by Gold. This is so cool. So unique. Great story. This guy got detached from the ISS or whatever and is floating out in space. Very scary. Very, very scary situation. And he was like, you know what, for the purists out there who just wanted the chrome ball, then he rendered out a chrome ball version of it. But I think this works perfect. This is a chrome ball. It's the same thing. There's just a lot more context. Like, I think out of everyone who joined this challenge, Gold, you took the cake here. Like, you gave it context, complete context. It just looks so cool. Like, you did a really, really good job. You have your surface imperfections down here. Just slight surface imperfections. The motion blur adds a whole lot. It's great work. Fantastic work. Next up, we have Job. Congrats for winning the weekly challenge. Super cool. He based his images off of Blade Runner here. Made some really nice renders here. I love the lighting. The composition is nice. And you can tell it was like really rainy and moody here because you can see the dried rain surface imperfection. And I'm digging it. You got this guy just kind of lost out in this world. And I think you did a fantastic job, Job. Congratulations. You are a weekly challenge winner. Second to last here, in no particular order, right? We got Visual with this image here. And it took me a moment to realize what the heck was going on. I had to really look at it. So I saw this. I was like, what is she doing? Oh, she's holding a selfie stick. She's holding this chrome ball. And it looks like it's a scene from Jurassic Park. Because you have these raptors in the kitchen, right? And you got her brother over here hiding from these raptors as well. They're in the kitchen. It's that scene. You guys remember the scene? And what a great story. You told the story through the chrome ball. You got the surface imperfections here, the scratches, the fingerprints, all that good stuff. It'd be nice to get a little bit of glow here. I think would be cool. Maybe scale down your surface imperfections a little bit. There, you can see a little bit of pixelization in there. But you even got the background in here. You got pots and modeled this whole kitchen or found a kitchen set or something. I don't know. You did a really good job. You got characters. Like, it's very, very hard to do characters, but at least you got the emotion going on here, and you got the scenario. You told the story. So congrats, Visual. You are a challenge winner this week. And last but not least, we have Damn D. This is simple. It's very simple and very subtle. But look at that. You got your photo scan gentleman in business attire, and you have a skull here. What is he doing? Is he visiting a gravesite? Did he put this skull here? Did he miss it entirely? I don't know. But I think this is really great. It's simple. Could definitely use a little bit of surface imperfections here on the sand, or I'm sorry, on the ball. But yeah, your sand texture is not bad. Definitely look into RD textures for the highest quality photo scan textures. But yeah, I dug this. I like the composition. It looks like a phone background, definitely. But hey, you told a story. That was the point of this whole thing, and you did a good job with lighting and composition. So congrats to you, Damn D. you are a challenge winner this week. So that's it, guys. Thank you for I've been going for too long. Thanks for participating. I hope you guys had fun putting all this together, and I hope you guys are gonna have some fun making your own physically based texture this week. So, one thing that was brought to my attention last week when I announced the winners, I found out that one of the winners basically watched a tutorial and went through the tutorial and posted that work as their image, and a lot of you guys felt like you were cheated, like, oh, you just followed a tutorial and posted the exact image from the tutorial. And I spent all week doing my thing. So a couple things to that point. Okay. So first off, I understand you guys who feel like you put a lot of time into it, and then you had somebody who just followed the tutorial and posted their image, from the tutorial, just straight out the tutorial. I know that that's how I learned in the past. All I did was follow tutorials and do Andrew Kramer tutorials. And, I just copied Andrew Kramer's work one-to-one because that's what you do when you follow a tutorial. Now, posting it as like your work is probably not the best move. You would want to say, hey, I followed a tutorial for this. So I think in the future, for the rest of these challenges, if you use any sort of reference or tutorial, I'd ask that you post that. Let me know if you are just going right off a tutorial. But also, you really want to watch a tutorial, maybe follow the tutorial exactly all the way through for the first time. But if you're going to post anything as your work, switch it up. Like, take the tools you're learning and apply it to your own art. Push yourself to make things your own. And that's really something that I tried to do with, any Andrew Kramer tutorial. It's so obvious when you see someone's work or someone's demo reel and you see, oh, I know all these tutorials. They just followed the tutorials, what's more impactful is to see the actual, like, how you took the tutorial and you flipped it and applied it to new footage, new techniques, a new situation, and you made it your own. Now, that's the most important thing, is making it your own. Again, I've done it. I do a lot of drawing, okay? The easiest way for me when I started out was to draw other people's drawings, and I'd post it and I'd say, hey, look at the drawing I did. It was just the fastest way for me to learn how to draw, is to draw other people's drawings. And it didn't take, it took years and years and years and years and years and years until I was able to draw something on my own. And I basically got to the point where I would take a picture of something and I would draw that picture that I took. So it makes it more personal. And, if you want to sell your art, you can sell that. If you want to claim full, because I know it's not plagiarism. You're not plagiarizing, saying like, it's a fine line, It's a super fine line. I don't know. It is tough. I just think at the end of the day, you don't want to claim like a tutorial having copied it one-to-one as your work, because you're just following a tutorial, which is fine. Okay, that's how you learn. So don't stop following tutorials. But if you're going to post something saying this is my work, just make sure you followed a tutorial and took the tools from that and applied it to your own ideas. That's the point, right? So I think you guys get what I'm saying. Just in the future, okay, when we're doing these challenges, I ask that you either provide a clay render, okay, or that you provide, like, in this case, a view of your node tree so I can see what's going on. All right. And if you're following tutorials, make it your own. Don't just post the tutorial, all right? So with all that, yeah, this week's challenge is to make your own procedural texture. Use noise maps. Don't use Megascan's images, all right? Make it your own. I'll be here for the next 5 minutes chilling with you guys if you have any questions. And I may have missed the super chat that one of you guys threw my way. And if I did, I'm sorry. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Any questions at all? There's a janky ice cube for y'all. Yeah, visual, I think you said it best. Tutorial should be used to learn the skills, not to show your skills. Yeah. And guys, the difference between shader and texture, boy, I don't know. A texture might be like a black and white image, like that rain texture. Maybe that's a texture. A shader is probably a series of textures combined together to produce like the cast iron, the rusted cast iron, like that's a shader. I feel like. Don't quote me 100% on that. But let me grab a kombucha before we leave here. Ooh, Louisa asked, do you have any recommendations for what film to use? I'm starting out and got a wee to go. Got it a week ago? A week ago. Yes. I'll be right back. Let me grab the kombucha and I'll answer your question. Christian, thank you. I got the Cayenne Cleanse going right now. I always feel healthy with this stuff. Yeah, dude, you can use Substance Painter, you can use Blender, you can use whatever program you want. Seriously, it's totally fine. Just make your own physically based shader. Okay, that's all I ask. Base it off of reference footage, please do that. You need to provide your reference image with, all right, with the final shader that you create. So just make sure you have both of those when you submit. It'd be cool to find a prize for you guys too. Let me see if I can hit up. Let me see if I can hit up like Grayscale Gorilla or something, and see if I can't find a prize. Maybe like the Everyday Materials collection. Let me talk. Let me see if I can get that going for a prize this week. I can't guarantee it. All right, but I know the guys at Grayscale. They're really chill, and I think they would be down for something like this. Okay, so let me see what I can do. Okay, so what film I use? I love CineStill 800T. That is ooh. Let me show y'all. I love shooting film. CineStill 800T. It's like the Blade Runner kind of film stock. You know, this is 35mm film. I got my camera right here. This is the Nichromat FTN. But yeah, the CineStill 800T gets you this nice look right here. It's really good for night with rain. It gives you those like kind of tungsten mid-tones, those blue shadows. I love it so much. Ooh boy, like this right here. Wonderful. So that's a good one. That's a good color stock. CineStill also has a 50D, which is a nice daytime color here. Something like this. Something like this. I just love it. Like this right here. I love that look so much. So good. This is another 800T. Portra 400 is another good color. That's more accessible. right? And then as far as black and white goes, I really like T-Max 400. It's very contrasty. I like it a lot. Really, really nice black and white stock. Ilford 5 HP, I think. HP 5. Ilford HP 5 is another good black and white stock. Super contrasty as well. Nice vibes there. Yeah, those are my go-tos. Louisa. Thanks for the question. Okay, Mr. Dam 236. I've never used the reference image until now. Do you think I do? It will be more easier and faster? A reference image is like your base truth. A reference image you can always look back to as a base truth. I know, like, it's your guiding source. The whole time you're making something, whether you're doing an edit, whether you're doing a visual effect, whether you're doing a texture, whether, whatever you're creating, it's always nice to have a reference image because that is true to life and that's going to give you the most accurate and realistic results. To be able to come up with something off the top of your head is nearly impossible. Just please use reference. Unless you're Kim Jong-gi and can just draw stuff like this from the top of your head, please use reference. This guy's amazing. He does everything from his brain. Yeah, look at this. This is incredible. This artwork is insane. If you guys look him up on Instagram, Kim Jong-gi. Oh, this is a video of him. Yeah, look at this. He just does it from his head. I guess he is referencing some stuff here. But his thing is to just draw stuff from his head. And he just goes. And he uses a pen. And it's just incredible. So much detail. Yeah, this guy's a master. So that's about it, guys. That's about all I got today. So good luck to everybody. And I called it. It's pretty close. 2 hours and 52 minutes. Yeah. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you enjoy hanging out, go ahead and subscribe if you're not. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys want me to do next time. I always need help figuring out what y'all want to learn. I want to make sure that I'm passionate about it, and I want to make sure that you guys need the knowledge. So commenting about what you guys want helps me a lot. If you're not a part of the Discord server, there's a link in the description below. Join up. Join the weekly challenge. Post your submission to the Discord server. There's a whole little channel thing for it too. Anything else? Yeah, I'm still working on that HDRI tutorial. It's going to be awesome. A surface imperfection tutorial it's in the brain. It's even typed out a little bit. And for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be working on the dominoes video for Corridor. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crunch, like 2 weeks of crunch town. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for stopping by. And I'll catch you next week. Peace, guys. Later.